Welcome back. This is a very, very special video because this is a very, very special band. Today, I want to talk about the Prodigy. So for those of you who've been watching my content for a while, you will probably know that the Prodigy are very big in my estimations, but I still think a lot of you don't understand the enormity of the Prodigy for me in my life. And we're going to get into various things, many aspects about the band and their history and my history with them, and exactly why they are as important to me as they are. It is difficult to know where to begin because they're so integral to my personality, to my core. You know, I love music. Music is my favorite thing in the universe, and the Prodigy is my favorite part of music. Before we get any further, I want to share with you a couple of things that will illustrate to you just how big a fan I am. First of all, I have a Prodigy tattoo. Just like from the Smack My Bitch Up video. Secondly, I don't know about you, but I don't have a CD collection anymore. As much as I would like to have one, they're just kind of impractical these days. I don't have a CD player as such, so I don't have any CDs. Apart from this, which I'll show you now. This is my CD collection. Until the Prodigy release a new album, hopefully this year, it won't be growing any more than it is. As you notice, all of those are unopened. They never will be opened, and I'm going to keep onto these for as long as I live. Maybe some Prodigy fans, can you tell me, is this rare? Because I owned this CD back in the day, and it used to be white. Is a black one like a rare edition or something? This is my sacred tome of music. A physical thing, which a lot of people don't even have anymore. I wanted to have these, again, unopened. They're time capsules. They are the most important music in my life. There's a lot of bands that I've listened to over the years, over the decades, and the Prodigy, it always has been number one. I've gone through phases of other bands being bigger for a bit. The Prodigy's never gone down in my list of bands that I love. I've never got bored of them. I've never forgotten about them. I always go back to them eventually. I mean, I say eventually. It's very rare that I don't listen to any Prodigy for more than a week. So all of this will give you a good idea of how important this band is to me. I do have another Prodigy tattoo, but we're going to get to that later. They've always been part of my life, for as long as I can remember. My mum was into the Prodigy when I was little, and she listened to music for the Jilted generation and Experience quite a lot. I was brought up around the Prodigy without really even knowing what it was at the time, talking, 92, 3, 4, whatever. So it's always been in my mind from the very beginning. In a lot of ways, they kind of informed everything that I would get into later in life. As a lot of you will know, I love electronic music, I love metal. I think the Prodigy are a big part of that because with this album, they broke down so many barriers. If you were into grunge at the time, you didn't listen to electronic music and vice versa. But this album changed all of that. After that, so many artists started incorporating electronic music and guitar, or if they were a guitar-based band, they'd start introducing electronic stuff, rave stuff, and vice versa. This album literally changed everything. To this day, it's still acceptable for a metal band to have electronic elements, whereas once upon a time, it really wasn't. Can you imagine Slayer, or Metallica, or Led Zeppelin having, rave elements in them? No, of course not. Once the Prodigy put their stamp on music, so many artists realized, oh, we can do this, and it's fine. The Prodigy would get invited to rave-type events, and Glastonbury or Woodstock, metal rock kind of events as headliners. And it wasn't weird. All of a sudden, the Prodigy was attracting punks and ravers and metalheads and hip-hop fans, reggae fans, whatever. They were just so accepted by music fans at large without going super mainstream. That was never their intention. that's one reason why I've always had such a huge amount of respect for them, because they could have gone mainstream. If Liam wanted to make some proper pop music, there would have been nothing stopping him. But he didn't. He never did. Despite their success, their huge success with this album, they never really went mainstream. Even though you ask anyone of a certain age and they'll know who the Prodigy is. Anyone that's like 60 now, and even like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, they know who the Prodigy is. But it was never made to conquer the charts or anything. It was just the perfect music at the perfect time back in the day that people really wanted and they didn't realize they needed. My point is, they've always been part of me. Always. I've listened to every album more than you have, I guarantee it. I am basically the biggest Prodigy fan you will ever meet. Not that it's a competition or anything, but I just know I love the Prodigy more than, anyone I've ever met.
You're no good for me, I don't need nobody, don't need no one, that's no good for me.
You know, there are people who are, like me, just obsessed with the Prodigy, always have been and always will be, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm fairly certain I'm right in saying that I've listened to every single little thing that the Prodigy's ever released. Anything that Liam made and disregarded, unless it never made it out of his studio, I have heard it. Anything that's been leaked, I've heard every single beat.
Hold the beat, stop the beat, drop the beat.
There's not many people that can say that. Some people will just listen to the singles or the music videos, some people listen to the first 3 albums and that's it. There's nothing that they've done that I haven't listened to. There's probably no interview of theirs that I haven't watched. There's so many little facts in my mind about the Prodigy and stuff that no sane person should really ever need to know. But I do, because I'm quite sad. So as another example of how much of an influence the Prodigy have been in my life, the reason I have this nose ring, or the reason I got this nose ring to begin with, was because Liam Howlett had one. Keith always had the septum piercing, but Liam had the nose ring on the side, and I wanted that. And so to this day, I still have it. I got this when I was like 18, quite a while ago. I've had it for longer than I haven't had it. I often get weirdly choked up when I see live performances of the Prodigy. And it's not because they're not particularly emotional shows or, deep sentimental lyrics or anything like that. It's just the amount of love that I have for this band, watching them go mental and watching the crowd also going mental. It gets to me because I've been there, I know what it's like, I know how it feels. I love watching their live performances more than most other artists because I've experience of it and it resonates with me still. Even watching it through a TV, it's still almost like being there. Maybe I wouldn't feel that way if I hadn't seen them so many times, but I get this weird emotional response. I spent many, many years making electronic music, and the Prodigy was always my main influence. I was always looking to them for ideas. The Prodigy's album release schedules are very, very spaced out, 5-6 years between albums, and so I start getting impatient. And so I'm like, okay, screw it, I'm gonna make something that just sounds like the Prodigy. And so I did, many, many times. Small aside, which I forgot during the main recording of this, I have actually made some remixes of Prodigy songs as well. Liam Howlett is one of the greatest musical geniuses of all time. He's up there with Beethoven, as far as I'm concerned, just in a very modern way. I think he's the greatest electronic music producer of all time. A lot of people tout Aphex Twin as like this god of music production. While I wouldn't dispute that, they're very different. Liam is less experimental, but much more clever in merging these two completely disparate pieces of music into one solid thing, which Aphex Twin is, not that at all. Call it bias, I don't know. There's something about not only his ability to create an amazing final product, i.e. a song or album, but his methods of doing so. And back in the day, bear this in mind, there were no computers that were being used. The first 3 albums, there was no computers. It was all samplers and drum machines and synthesizers, and that was basically it. So a lot of what you hear on those first albums are samples, loops. He's heard like a 5-second bit of a song and gone, oh, I'm going to use that. So then he has to take the vinyl and then play it through a sampler, cut it, and then and no screens, no monitors. Like, people don't understand this these days, but it was done in such an analog way, which makes his genius even more impressive. Because these days it's relatively easy to do that. If you've got the ideas and the imagination to do it, you can do it in a digital audio workstation quite easily these days. Click, 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 right click, copy, paste, all that stuff. You couldn't do that back then. So you really had to know what you were doing. And bear in mind, when he made this album, he was like 19 or 20, maybe. This album, by a 20-year-old, that is ridiculous. Leeroy Thornhill, who isn't with the band anymore. He never actually contributed anything significant to the songs. He occasionally played keys live, but he was basically just a dancer. I always liked him. I liked his face. I've seen him in interviews and stuff. He seems like a really genuine, kind, nice dude that you'd want to hang out with. And my first cat, I named after him, Leeroy. Keith Flint, I'm going to dedicate a whole section later in the video to him, so stick around. Maxim, incredible hype man. He's the one member that's remained consistently doing the same thing throughout their entire career, is basically being an intermediate between the crowd and the music, and would, I think, go on to influence a lot of very, very bad MCs in drum and bass sets later on, who think they can do the same thing as him, and they really cannot. And these days, considering he's in his 50s, it's incredible how he still manages to command a crowd in such a way. His energy is insane. He's in incredibly good shape as well. Respect to him. So here's just a few artists that the Prodigy have influenced. Pendulum, Skrillex, Noisia, Korn, Chase and Status, Nero, Basement Jaxx, Apollo 440, Bring Me the Horizon, Audio Bullies, Fatboy Slim, Bomb Funk MCs, Stereophonics, Enter Shikari, Hadouken, The Chemists, and Atari Teenage Riot. That's just a few that I could cobble together based on the Prodigy being mentioned in interviews and stuff. And that is a very disparate list of artists. From Bring Me the Horizon to Stereophonics, those are 2 completely different artists. And, then Skrillex, for example. It couldn't be more opposite, but all of them claim that the Prodigy was an influence on them in some way. Which tells you just how groundbreaking and influential they were. Like I said at the beginning, they proved that you can mash things together and make it work. So that's how we end up with Pendulum. No Prodigy, no Pendulum. It's as simple as that. So, experience. This album is one of the most important albums in my life. It emerged out of a scene that the Prodigy would very quickly distance themselves from. The song Charlie.
Charlie says, always tell your mummy before you go somewhere.
Influenced a lot of other similar contemporaries at the time to start making, what do they call it, Toontown music. It was almost a genre before it burnt itself out. That was not what the Prodigy were trying to do. That was just a song. And none of the other songs are really so cartoonish. I do like rave music like this from back in the day. I love it. When I listen to compilations, this, for example, amazing compilation, it is great, but this makes all the other stuff seem brain dead by comparison. Not very creative, not very imaginative. And again, the amount of samples in this thing is insane. I don't use streaming services or anything like that, but I've heard that this album isn't there anymore on Spotify or whatever. And I can only assume that's because there's so many samples that he would have needed to get clearance for back in the day, and maybe that's expired now or something, I don't know. The genius in this album. Out of Space. Wind It Up. Your Love. Like, every single song on this thing is not a skipper. There isn't a second on this album. I don't think I've ever, unless I've needed to stop to do something else, I don't think I've ever skipped a song on this or stopped the album halfway through, because it's a cardinal sin. And again, he was like 20, 19? What were you doing when you were 20? Music for the Jilted generation. Spoiler alert, this is my favourite album of all time. Now you know. This one, this album is just unbelievably good. For 1994, it still sounds so incredibly fresh. This was very much a product of the scene. This was very, very different and a lot angrier, and it was kind of a response to the criminal justice bill, which was a law that was brought out to stop people from attending raves in fields, right? That was outlawed. The government didn't like this repetitive dance music. Liam was kind of angry that the scene was being changed by the government, essentially. And so this was the response to that. And that's why it's a lot more upbeat and aggressive and less cartoonish, I guess. Like I've said, music is my favorite thing in the universe. The Prodigy is my favorite musical thing. This is my favorite album. So, essentially, this is my favorite thing in the universe. Now you're going to wonder, what's my favorite song of this perfect item? I can't tell you. I bounce between Breaking Into, Poison, Voodoo. I can't decide. Again, this is another one where if I put it on, I'm in for the ride, and it's like 74 minutes or something, this CD. They put as much on this as they possibly could. I think every second is worth sticking around for. I think a lot of people would, especially these days with people's attention spans being what they are, appreciate it if some of the songs were cut down. Like Breaking Into, I think, is like 8 minutes, which for track 1 is quite a lot. But for me, it's 8 minutes of goosebumpy perfection. So I wouldn't change a thing. Fat of the Land. Okay, a lot of people, rightly so, would consider this the greatest electronic music album of all time, or at least of the decade, or the year, maybe. Of course, I love this album, obviously. Why wouldn't I? I'm not stupid. And I don't know if it's because I have over-listened to it over the years, but I don't rank it as high as these previous two. And that's not to say that it isn't exceptional. A lot of people would consider this peak Prodigy, not for me. I wouldn't even say peak, but this Music for the Jilted generation is superior to Fat of the Land. You know, it has some of their biggest songs of all time, and actually some deep cuts that are some of my favourite Prodigy songs. So, I don't know what my problem is. You know, Smack My Bitch Up, Breathe, Diesel Power, Narayan, Firestarter, obviously. There's something complete about this album. It feels more trimmed down than the previous two. I've got no problem with that. It doesn't speak to me as much as the previous two do. If this is your favourite electronic music album of all time, I don't blame you. So this is a bit of an anomaly, and some of you probably don't even know what I'm holding right now. This is the Dirtchamber Sessions Volume 1. And I got this when it came out, because, you know, on the back of this was 97, this was 99. I was very, very excited to get my grubby little fingers into this, and I was very, very disappointed. And what this is, for those who don't know, this is basically, I mean, it says here, a DJ mix by Liam Howlett. So it's a bunch of songs that, through my years of being obsessed with the Prodigy, I've realized that a lot of the songs in here, I mean, they're mixed together in such a genius way. Like, it's on another level of mixing. It's unbelievable. And again, no computers. And these songs, they contain samples that ended up on this and this. He took all the samples from his vinyl or tapes or whatever and then used them on these albums and then was like, well, I have those whole songs. So why not make a DJ mix out of the full songs, or most of the songs? As a DJ, this is inconceivably genius. It's not going to blow your head off like the previous albums were, because that's not really the point of it. It's more of a showcase of his influences and where the previous music sort of originated from. So if you're like, oh my god, I've never heard this album, don't get your hopes up too much. But as a curiosity, it's phenomenal. And if you're a DJ, or if you understand DJing at the very least, then this is incredibly impressive. If you like funk and hip hop from like the 70s and 80s, there's a lot of stuff on here that you will like. But if you're into just, you know, dubstep, maybe not. Always outnumbered, never outgunned. This was a big deal for me when this came out. Dirtchamber Sessions was 99, this was 2004. And if we're discounting this, because it's not really a Prodigy album, 1997 to 2004, that's 7 years. It had a bit of a mixed reception after, you know, such a long wait, and after, you know, the smash hit that was Fat of the Land. This didn't really hit in the same way. However, I listened to this back to back over and over and over and over again when it came out. I could not get enough of it. I think it was way ahead of its time. He was really going outside of what the Prodigy was known for. And by the way, Maxim and Keith weren't on this. Leeroy had left at this point, so this was basically a Liam solo project, essentially. That said, he does have a bunch of contributing vocalists on this, which is kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you ever want to play these songs live. This album features Spitfire, Girls, and one of my all-time favourite Prodigy songs, Wake Up Call. It is the one Prodigy album where about 2/3 of the way through I do sort of, I don't lose interest as such, but it kind of meanders and I sometimes don't make it to the end. Once we get past Medusa's Path, that's when it kind of starts to peter out, but the first half is unbelievably good and really, really clever. Like Girls. Technically, like what he was doing, I've listened to it so many times and I'm still unsure of how he produced the sounds and the layering and stuff that he did, even though it's very different to previous stuff. And this was using Reason, Propellerhead Reason software, and based on that, when I found that out, that's what I started using to make music, and I still do to this day. If I ever need to do music editing or something, I will use Reason. This album is the reason why. This album is cool, but not my favorite. Invaders Must Die. This album I actually did a full review of the album, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, you can go and watch that. But this, what a return to form. After those last two kind of confusing, perhaps, albums, what I said in that review that I did is that this was exactly what the Prodigy should have been doing in 2009. It was so perfect, even though at the time I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. It really took a while to grow on me, and I will still maintain that Invaders Must Die, the song, was a mistake. It's my least favourite first song on any Prodigy album, but everything else is phenomenal, an incredible return to form, and some of their bigger modern successes, Omen, Take Me to the Hospital, Warriors Dance. Like, Warriors Dance is an instant classic at the time. Go and watch that bloody video. Sure enough, it did not disappoint. Their Law, a compilation of singles. Fire Started There, Law, Breathe, Out of Space, Smack My Bitch Up, Poison, Girls, Voodoo People, Charlie, No Good, Spitfire, Jericho, Everybody in the Place, One Love, and Hot Ride. The Day Is My Enemy. Oh my god, when this came out, ooh, did I like this album. Because Invaders Must Die at the time, it was starting to grow on me more and more and more. But then when this came out, this was just an instant hit as far as I'm concerned. A little bit long, and there is one song that I'm not a huge fan of, which is Rhythm Bomb. I've never really liked that song. The rest of it though, like, again, the same with Invaders Must Die. Like, this is exactly what the Prodigy should have been doing in 2015, based on the music scene and what was going on around them. The Day Is My Enemy, Ibiza, that's a strange song, isn't it? I remember being a little bit surprised by that one, but again, it's another case where I'm not sure about this, but it eventually grows on me, and I love Ibiza. Get Your Fight On. Medicine. Those are two songs that shouldn't have been left to the end of the album. Having said that, unlike with Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned, it's very front-loaded, whereas this is very nicely spread out with all of these songs. Like, it's a nice flow of quality. Like I said, Rhythm Bomb is the only one I would take off because it's a bit meh, but another phenomenal album. And finally, No Tourists. This I bought day of release. I actually have two copies of it. I've got this and another one somewhere. I don't know why. This one was a little bit of a letdown in some respects, and it was largely, the songs were good, the songs were fine. There's no skippers or anything. I like all of it. But I noticed it with this album where there's this gradual decline in numbers of samples used in songs. And as I know, how the music industry works and everything, I would assume that that's because getting clearance for samples is a costly pain in the ass. Artists don't make their main source of revenue from CD sales anymore. It's a kind of a waste of money. That said, I love this album. It's the one album, for some reason, if it's like a nice sunny day and I've got my headphones on and I'm going to meet friends and I'm gonna get drunk and I have a bit of a pre-game, this is the one that I always go to. It's a really good album to be drunk to, for some reason. I like its simplicity, because unlike the previous albums, they're very layered and everything. Some people would see that as a bit of a step down, but what is there is so good. Need Someone. When that dropped, the music video, I could not stop listening to it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I was obsessed. Straight up obsessed. The amount of views that music video has, a lot of them are probably down to me. What a cool music video. And yeah, of course, this is the latest one. It's the 7th of March, 2026 right now. This was 2019. That's many years ago. Too many years ago. Come on, Liam, what's going on, man? We need another one of these, please. He's been promising new music is going to be coming in 2026. I'm very excited. So, Keith Flint. I have a second Prodigy tattoo, as I mentioned, which is this. And I got that after I received the news that he had passed away. As a kid and as a teenager, and for the rest of my life, really, Keith Flint was always my idol. He was my hero, my superhero. As a kid, he seemed like such a larger-than-life person, which he was. A lot of kids were into, Superman, Batman, whatever, wrestlers or something. For me, it was musicians, and Keith Flint was the number one hero of mine. No other public figure at all has followed me in my life, and me following their life as much as Keith Flint. And then, of course, on the 4th of March, 2019, I got a message from someone who said, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but Keith Flint has passed away. And it was the most heartbreaking thing I had experienced at that point. Which might sound silly, I don't know the guy really, I haven't met him. I've been near him, but I don't know him personally, we've never spoken or anything, but that said, I've always looked up to him. In tough times in my life, there was always this comfort of knowing that he was out there doing something mental, and now that all of a sudden was gone. I actually had to leave work. I just said to my boss, I've had some terrible news and I need to leave. And he said, sure, fine, you do what you need to do. And so what I did was I went home and drank pretty much an entire bottle of rum and cried a lot and passed out. I was devastated. I cannot tell you, through the medium of video and audio, how soul-crushing for me that news was. It was like part of my being had left. I started receiving messages from people, because anyone that knows me personally knows how obsessed I am with the Prodigy. So people rightly assumed that I was going to be pretty upset, which I was, so people were checking up on me. And that was nice. That was very thoughtful. And of course I checked in with other people who I also knew were big Prodigy fans, but I doubt it would have meant so much to them as it did to me. Now I have this tattoo, he's always with me, and there was something always really endearing about him, even though he had this outward image of this crazy guy with the crazy hair and the eyeliner and the piercings and stuff. You see him in interviews and he was always really calm, he was always really friendly. He just wanted everyone to have a good time. From the very beginning of the Prodigy's existence, live, he was just like a member of the crowd who just happened to get on stage. When you're watching a band perform, there's always a divide between the musicians and the crowd, which is understandable. They're at work and we're there to observe them working, right? Keith Flint seemed like something in between, where, he would come down into the crowd, like at every gig. He broke that barrier between performers and the enormous crowd. Like, he bridged that gap. He was like an umbilical cord between the band and the crowd that was there to see them, I never saw him ever live be bored. He was always sweating, he was always moving. If he was like on stage, sometimes he'd go backstage to do things. He loved music so much. To me, he never really came off as a celebrity, really. He was a public figure and everyone knew who he was, but he didn't come across as like an arrogant, oh, I'm so wonderful, egotistical kind of person. But I think the lifestyle of, going pretty hard with, substances, etc., just took its toll in the end. It's actually, well, I said it's the 7th of March 2026. It's 3 days since the 7-year anniversary of him passing, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been that long, and it's still really, really hard to digest that information. I don't know if I ever truly will. So I could go on all day about the Prodigy. They are the most important thing in my life, music-wise. Always have been, always will be. It's not just nostalgia, because I'm still hyped for the next thing, and this album came out a few years ago. There's no real nostalgia with that. I just think it's awesome, and the previous one. There is so much more that I could say, but this video's gone on long enough, and I'm sure you have other things to do with your day today. If you think that you are as big a Prodigy fan as me, then please say hello in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I would like, actually, for Prodigy fans to subscribe to my channel, just because there aren't that many music YouTubers that I've found that are really, really into the Prodigy. People might like them, people might respect them, but they're not part of their life in the same way as they are for me. So if you are that way inclined, then let me know, subscribe, and I will be more than happy to make more Prodigy content, because like I said, I could talk about them all bloody day. I haven't found the crowd yet. One last thing. This is a jacket I made, right? I love this jacket. I get a lot of compliments on this jacket. People come up to me and they're like, where did you buy that jacket? I'm like, I made it. It's one of one. But if you want to buy it, I'll sell it for, I don't know, $1 million. So, thank you very much for watching to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate it. If you're new, then thank you for clicking on this video, and if you're already subscribed, thank you for being here. There's nothing more that I can say. I mean, there is plenty more than I can say, but I'm going to cut it off here because, like I said, this video is long enough. But I've still not thought of how to end videos yet, so I'm just going to say, go away.